The beginning of an unimaginable journey. The sun was just beginning to rise over the quiet, sleepy town of Valley Verde, casting soft golden hues on the cobbled streets and modest homes. Maya, a petite young woman, stood by the window of her small classroom, her hands nervously adjusting the lace collar of her white dress. At just 1.15 meters tall, her delicate frame and youthful features often made people mistake her for a child. But Maya was no child. She was a passionate and dedicated English teacher, known and loved by her students for her kind heart and sharp mind. Her life had been anything but ordinary. Diagnosed with a rare condition called pituitary dwarfism, Maya's physical development had been halted at a young age, leaving her with the appearance of a child despite her adult years. She had grown accustomed to the stares and whispers, choosing instead to focus on her dreams and the joy of teaching. The classroom was her sanctuary, a place where she could make a difference in the lives of her students. It was there that she met Paul, a reserved but determined man in his late 30s who had recently moved to the town. Paul was learning English to advance his career and provide for his family, and Maya's reputation as the best English tutor in Valley Verde had led him to her. Over months of lessons, a unique bond formed between them. Paul admired Maya's resilience and brilliance, while Maya found solace in Paul's gentle and supportive demeanor. One fateful afternoon, Maya arrived at Paul's home for their usual session. She was greeted by Paul's warm smile, which quickly turned to concern when he noticed her pale complexion and the faint wince as she sat down. "Maya, are you okay?" Paul asked, his brows knitting together in worry. "I'm fine," she replied softly, brushing off his concern. But as the lesson continued, her discomfort became impossible to ignore. Suddenly, she clutched her stomach, her face contorted in pain. Paul rushed to her side, panic setting in as she collapsed onto the floor. Without wasting a second, Paul scooped her up and carried her to his car. The drive to the hospital felt like an eternity, the tension thick in the air as Maya drifted in and out of consciousness. When they arrived, Paul sprinted into the emergency room, shouting for help. "Doctor, please, someone help her." His voice cracked with desperation, echoing down the sterile hallways. Nurses and doctors rushed to their aid, their initial shock at Maya's appearance quickly replaced by professional urgency. Maya was whisked away on a stretcher, leaving Paul to grapple with a flood of emotions in the waiting room. Whispers and judgmental glances began to ripple through the crowd as people speculated about the situation. "She looks like a child. And she's pregnant," a woman murmured, her voice tinged with disbelief. "And that man, he must be the one responsible," another whispered, her tone sharp with accusation. Paul sat in a corner, his head buried in his hands as the weight of their words pressed down on him. He wanted to scream the truth, to defend himself, but his priority was Maya's safety. He prayed silently, hoping the doctors could save her and her unborn child. Meanwhile, in the operating room, the medical team worked tirelessly to stabilize Maya. Dr. Elena Cruz, the lead obstetrician, couldn't hide her astonishment as she examined Maya's condition. "This is extraordinary," she muttered under her breath. Maya's internal organs were those of a healthy adult woman, yet her petite frame defied all logic. As the team prepared for an emergency C-section, Dr. Cruz's mind raced with questions. How could someone so small carry a child to term? What circumstances had led to this moment? She pushed her thoughts aside, focusing on the task at hand. "We need to give this our all," she instructed her team. "Her life and her baby's depend on it." Back in the waiting room, the tension was palpable. Paul remained silent, enduring the harsh stares and whispered accusations. Just as he began to feel the despair creeping in, a nurse approached him. "Sir," she said gently, "I need you to tell me everything. What happened to Maya?" Paul looked up, his eyes filled with anguish. "She's my teacher," he began, his voice trembling. "She's 27, but she has a condition that makes her look much younger. Today, during our lesson, she suddenly collapsed. I didn't know what else to do but bring her here." The nurse studied him for a moment, sensing the sincerity in his words. But before she could respond, a loud commotion erupted as a man in the waiting room lunged toward Paul, grabbing him by the collar. "You monster!" the man shouted. "How could you do this to a child?" Paul raised his hands in surrender, his voice shaking as he pleaded, "Please, you don't understand. I would never hurt her. I only want to help her." "Enough." A nurse intervened, stepping between them. "This is a hospital, not a courtroom. Let the authorities handle this." Moments later, 2 police officers entered the room, their expressions grim. "Sir, we need you to come with us," one of them said, placing a hand on Paul's shoulder. Paul hesitated, his thoughts consumed by Maya. "But she needs me," he protested. "I can't leave her." "We'll investigate the situation thoroughly," the officer assured him. "For now, we need your cooperation." As Paul was led away, his heart ached with worry. He knew he had to clear his name, but more than anything, he wanted Maya to be safe. The weight of the misunderstanding pressed heavily on him, but he held on to hope that the truth would come to light. In the operating room, a loud, piercing cry suddenly broke the tense silence. The baby had been delivered, healthy and strong. A wave of relief washed over the medical team as they handed the newborn to a nurse for care. Dr. Cruz turned her attention back to Maya, carefully completing the procedure to ensure her recovery. When Maya awoke hours later, she was greeted by the sight of her baby, swaddled and resting peacefully in her arms. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "You're here. You're safe." The road ahead was uncertain, but Maya knew one thing for sure. She would fight for her child, for her future, and for the truth to be known. Truths unearthed and bonds forged. Maya's awakening was accompanied by the warm, weighty presence of her newborn in her arms. She gazed at the baby boy, marveling at the miracle of his existence despite the challenges. The soft glow of the hospital room lights reflected in her tear-filled eyes. Yet beneath her relief, a storm brewed, a worry she could not shake. Where was Paul? Why hadn't he come to see her yet? Just as she thought this, the door creaked open. A nurse entered with a compassionate smile, carrying a tray of food. "Maya, you've been so strong," the nurse said gently, setting the tray on the bedside table. "You and your baby are safe now. Eat something. You'll need your strength." Maya nodded, offering a faint smile. "Thank you," she murmured. But her curiosity over Paul's absence gnawed at her. "Nurse, do you know what happened to the man who brought me here?" The nurse's expression faltered briefly. "I'm not sure of all the details," she said cautiously, "but I believe he was taken for questioning by the authorities. Don't worry, they're sorting everything out." Maya's heart sank. She clutched the baby closer, her mind racing. Paul had done nothing wrong. He had saved her life and the life of her child. If anyone deserved blame, it was the one who had abandoned her, her ex-fiancé, the child's biological father. She resolved to make the truth known, even if it meant confronting the world's misconceptions. Paul's struggle. Meanwhile, Paul sat in the stark interrogation room at the police station. The fluorescent lights buzzed faintly, casting a harsh glow on the metallic table before him. Across from him sat Detective Sophia, her sharp eyes fixed on his face, and Detective Gonzalez, a man of few words who observed silently. "Paul," Sophia began, her voice firm yet not unkind, "we've received some serious accusations. The situation is unusual, to say the least. We need the truth from you, everything." Paul clenched his fists on the table, his thoughts a jumble of fear and frustration. He had already explained Maya's condition, her age, and the nature of their relationship, but skepticism hung thick in the room. "Maya is not a child," he said again, his voice steady despite the tension. "She's a grown woman with a medical condition that makes her look younger. I didn't hurt her. I've been learning English from her for months. Today, when she collapsed, I panicked and brought her to the hospital. That's all." Detective Sophia leaned back in her chair, exchanging a glance with Gonzalez. "You understand how this situation looks, don't you?" she pressed. A girl who appears no older than 10, pregnant, and a grown man by her side. People are outraged. Paul nodded, his jaw tightening. I understand, but appearances can be deceiving. Maya has medical records. Talk to her doctors. Ask her yourself. She'll tell you the truth. Sophia sighed, scribbling notes in her pad. We're in the process of verifying everything, she said. But until then, you'll remain in custody. Paul leaned forward, desperation in his eyes. Please, he pleaded. Maya just gave birth. She needs me. I'm the only one she has right now. I don't care what people think of me. I just want to help her. For a moment, Sophia's stern demeanor softened. She tapped her pen against the table, considering his words. We'll see what we can do, she said finally, before rising to leave the room. The truth comes to light. Back at the hospital, Maya insisted on speaking with Dr. Cruz. Doctor, she began as he entered her room. I need your help. The man who brought me here, Paul, he's innocent. I need to clear his name. Dr. Cruz nodded, pulling up a chair beside her bed. I'm already in touch with your previous doctors to retrieve your medical records, he assured her. Once we have everything, we'll present it to the authorities. Maya hesitated, then spoke with determination. I'll tell them everything. About my condition. About my ex-fiancé, who abandoned me when he found out I was pregnant. Paul didn't deserve this. He's the one who stood by me when no one else did. Dr. Cruz listened intently, his respect for Maya growing. You're incredibly brave, he said. We'll make sure the truth comes out. By evening, Maya's medical records arrived, along with a statement from her primary physician confirming her diagnosis of pituitary dwarfism. Dr. Cruz personally delivered the documents to the police station, where he met with Detective Sophia. Here's everything you need to confirm Maya's condition, Dr. Cruz said, sliding the file across the table. Paul's actions were those of a good Samaritan, not a criminal. I hope you'll release him immediately. Detective Sophia reviewed the file, her expression unreadable. After a tense silence, she closed the folder and nodded. Thank you, doctor, she said. We'll handle this appropriately. Reunion and redemption. The next morning, Paul was escorted back to the hospital by 2 officers. His heart pounded as he approached Maya's room, unsure of what to expect. When he stepped inside, he was met with the sight of Maya cradling her baby, her face lighting up as she saw him. Paul, she breathed, tears welling in her eyes. Paul rushed to her side, overcome with emotion. Maya, are you okay? I was so worried. She nodded, her voice trembling. I'm fine, thanks to you. I told them everything. They know you're innocent. Paul reached out, his hand gently brushing hers. I didn't care what they thought of me, he said softly. I just wanted you to be safe. Maya smiled through her tears, her grip on his hand tightening. You saved me, Paul. I'll never forget that. Their reunion was a moment of pure relief and joy, witnessed by Dr. Cruz and the nurses who had cared for Maya. It was a testament to the power of truth, love, and resilience in the face of adversity. A new beginning. Over the following weeks, Maya and Paul grew closer as they navigated the challenges of parenthood and public scrutiny. The hospital staff, initially skeptical, came to admire their bond and their strength. Maya's story spread throughout Valley Verde, inspiring others to look beyond appearances and to stand up for what was right. One sunny afternoon, as Maya cradled her baby on the porch of their modest home, Paul sat beside her, a soft smile on his face. We've been through so much, he said, his voice filled with gratitude. But I wouldn't change a thing. You and our son mean everything to me. Maya looked at him, her eyes shining with love. And you mean everything to us, she replied. Thank you for standing by me, even when it wasn't easy. Their journey had been far from ordinary, but it was theirs. A story of courage, love, and the unyielding strength of the human spirit. Together, they faced the future with hope, knowing that as long as they had each other, they could overcome anything. Rising above the storm. Weeks turned into months as Maya and Paul began settling into their new roles as parents. Their son, Luca, had become the heart of their world, a symbol of hope and resilience in the face of adversity. Yet the whispers of their story, both in Valverde and beyond, continued to echo. The couple knew their journey had captured the public's attention, and while some showed unwavering support, others viewed their situation through a lens of skepticism and judgment. A community divided. In Valverde, the townspeople were divided. Many admired Maya's courage and Paul's devotion, their story serving as a powerful reminder of the complexities of human relationships. However, a vocal minority refused to see beyond Maya's childlike appearance, spreading rumors and questioning Paul's intentions. One afternoon, as Paul walked through the bustling town square to pick up supplies, he felt the weight of their judgment. A group of women whispered loudly enough for him to hear. "Did you see him? That's the man from the hospital scandal," one said, her voice dripping with disdain. "Shameful," another added. "How can anyone justify this?" Paul kept his head down, gripping the shopping bag tightly. He knew there was no use trying to explain himself to those who had already made up their minds. His focus remained on his family, but the weight of their words lingered. Back at home, Maya noticed the strain in Paul's expression as he entered the small, cozy living room. "Paul," she said softly, setting Luca down in his crib. "What's wrong?" Paul hesitated before sitting beside her on the worn couch. "It's nothing," he said, though his voice betrayed him. Maya placed a hand on his. "It's not nothing. I can see it in your eyes. Talk to me." He sighed, leaning back against the cushions. "It's the people in town," he admitted. "They're still talking. They don't understand, Maya. They don't know who you are, who we are. They see what they want to see." Maya's gaze dropped, a pang of sadness tightening her chest. "I've dealt with that my whole life," she said quietly. "But it's different now. It's not just about me. It's about you, about Luca. I never wanted this burden for you." Paul turned to her, his expression softening. "You're not a burden, Maya," he said firmly. "You're my family. Our family. Let them talk. What matters is what we know, what we've built together." A spark of hope. Despite the challenges, the couple found moments of joy and triumph. Paul's dedication to learning English had paid off, and he secured a promotion at work, allowing him to provide a better life for his family. Maya, though still recovering from childbirth, began tutoring part-time again, her love for teaching reigniting her spirit. One day, Maya received an unexpected call from Dr. Elena Cruz, the obstetrician who had delivered Luca. "Maya," Dr. Cruz began warmly, "I hope you and your family are doing well. I wanted to let you know that your story has inspired many people, especially in the medical community. We're hosting a symposium on rare medical conditions, and we'd love for you to share your experience." Maya was taken aback. "Me? Speak at a symposium? I'm not sure I'm the right person for that," she said, her voice hesitant. "You're exactly the right person," Dr. Cruz replied. "Your story is about more than just your condition. It's about resilience, love, and challenging societal perceptions. People need to hear it." After discussing it with Paul, Maya agreed. "If sharing my story can help even one person feel less alone," she told him, "it'll be worth it." The symposium. The day of the symposium arrived, and Maya found herself standing on a stage in front of a packed auditorium. The room buzzed with anticipation as doctors, medical students, and members of the public gathered to hear her speak. Taking a deep breath, Maya stepped up to the microphone. "Good afternoon," she began, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "My name is Maya, and I'm here to share a story, not just mine, but one of love, perseverance, and understanding." She spoke of her childhood, the challenges of growing up with pituitary dwarfism, and the strength it took to pursue her dreams despite the odds. She shared the story of her ex-fiancé, the heartbreak of his abandonment, and the unexpected blessing of meeting Paul. "When I gave birth to my son, I knew our lives would never be the same," Maya said, her voice thick with emotion. But what I didn't expect was the love and unwavering support of a man who saw me for who I truly am. Paul didn't just save me that day. He reminded me that love can overcome even the deepest scars. The audience was silent, hanging on her every word. By the time she finished, the room erupted in applause. Maya felt a swell of pride, not just for herself, but for her family and the journey they had undertaken together. Healing the divide. In the weeks following the symposium, something remarkable began to happen. Videos of Maya's speech went viral, spreading across social media and sparking discussions about empathy, acceptance, and the dangers of judgment based on appearances. Support poured in from all over the world: letters, emails, and messages from people who had faced similar challenges or who had been moved by Maya's story. The townspeople of Valle Verde, many of whom had been skeptical, began to see Maya and Paul in a new light. One evening, as the family strolled through the town square, a woman approached them hesitantly. "Maya," she said, her voice trembling, I owe you an apology. I was one of the people who judged you without understanding. Your story opened my eyes. Thank you for sharing it." Maya smiled, her heart swelling with gratitude. "Thank you for saying that," she replied. "It means more than you know." Looking ahead, as Maya and Paul watched Luca take his first wobbly steps in their garden, they felt a profound sense of peace. The storm of judgment and misunderstanding that had once surrounded them had given way to acceptance and admiration. Their story had not only brought them closer, but had also inspired countless others to look beyond appearances and embrace the complexities of the human experience. "Maya," Paul said, wrapping an arm around her as they sat on the porch, "we've come so far. I'm proud of us." Maya leaned into him, her eyes fixed on their son. "Me too," she said softly. "And I'm ready for whatever comes next. As long as we have each other, we can face anything." And so, with love as their anchor and hope as their compass, Maya, Paul, and Luca stepped into the future. Together, unstoppable and unbreakable, strength through community and legacy. As life settled into a semblance of normalcy for Maya, Paul, and their son Luca, the impact of their story continued to ripple far beyond the confines of Valle Verde. What began as whispers in a small town had blossomed into a global conversation, touching hearts and inspiring change. Yet the family remained grounded, finding joy in the quiet moments that made up their everyday lives. A blossoming life. Maya had fully embraced her role as a mother and teacher. Despite the demands of caring for a growing child, she returned to tutoring part-time, focusing on students who struggled with confidence. Her personal experiences allowed her to connect with them on a deeper level, offering not just lessons in language, but also encouragement to believe in themselves. Paul, now fluent in English thanks to Maya's guidance, thrived in his new role at work. He had become a respected figure in the community, not just for his dedication to his family, but also for his growing involvement in local initiatives aimed at supporting marginalized groups. One day, while organizing a charity event at the town hall, Paul was approached by Mrs. Delgado, an elderly woman who had been one of their harshest critics during the early days of their ordeal. She clutched a knitted shawl in her hands, her expression both nervous and earnest. "Mr. Paul," she began hesitantly, "I wanted to speak with you." Paul turned to her, his demeanor warm despite the memories of her past judgment. "Of course, Mrs. Delgado. What's on your mind?" She took a deep breath, her voice trembling. "I was wrong about you and Maya. I let my assumptions cloud my judgment. Watching how you've cared for her and Luca, it's opened my eyes. I'm truly sorry." Paul smiled, his heart swelling with gratitude. "Thank you for saying that, Mrs. Delgado. It means a lot to us. Maya and I always believe that understanding starts with a conversation." Mrs. Delgado handed him the shawl. "This is for Maya. I hope she knows how much she's inspired all of us." The foundation of hope. Buoyed by the outpouring of support from their community and beyond, Maya and Paul decided to channel their experiences into something meaningful. Together, They established the Hope Beyond Appearances Foundation, an organization dedicated to raising awareness about rare medical conditions, supporting families, and combating prejudice. The foundation quickly gained traction, thanks in part to Maya's growing presence as a speaker and advocate. She traveled across the country, sharing her story at schools, conferences, and community centers. Her message was clear: empathy and understanding could break down barriers and create a more inclusive world. During one event, a young girl named Elena approached Maya after her speech. The girl, no older than 12, had been born with a craniofacial condition that made her the target of relentless bullying. Tears welled in her eyes as she clutched Maya's hand. "Miss Maya," Elena said softly, "hearing your story made me feel like I'm not alone. Thank you for being brave." Maya knelt to meet Elena's gaze, her own eyes glistening. "You're never alone, Elena," she said. "You're stronger than you know, and your story matters just as much as mine." Facing new challenges. Though the foundation brought purpose and fulfillment, it also introduced new challenges. Balancing their growing responsibilities with family life required careful coordination and unwavering support for one another. Late nights often found Maya and Paul working side by side at their kitchen table, drafting plans for the foundation, while Luca slept soundly in his room. One particularly stressful evening, as Maya pored over a grant application, she sighed deeply and rubbed her temples. Paul looked up from his laptop, concern etched across his face. "Let's take a break," he suggested, standing to fetch 2 cups of tea. "We can't help anyone if we burn ourselves out." Maya smiled weakly as he set the steaming mug in front of her. "You're right," she admitted, leaning back in her chair. "I just want to make sure we're doing enough." Paul took her hand, his touch reassuring. "We're already making a difference, Maya. Remember that young girl, Elena. You've changed her life. That's more than enough." His words gave her the strength to press on, and together, they navigated the complexities of their growing mission. A growing family. As the years passed, the family continued to thrive. Luca, now a curious and energetic 5-year-old, adored spending time with his parents, often accompanying Maya to her events or helping Paul with community projects. His cheerful nature was a constant source of joy, reminding them of the resilience and love that had carried them through their darkest days. One sunny afternoon, as the family played in their backyard, Paul turned to Maya, a thoughtful expression on his face. "Maya," he began, "I've been thinking, what if we had another child?" Maya paused, surprised but not displeased. "Another child," she repeated, a soft smile spreading across her lips. "Do you think we're ready?" Paul nodded. "We've faced so much together, and we've come out stronger. I think we're ready for whatever comes next." Maya's heart swelled with emotion. "I'd love that," she said, wrapping her arms around him. Luca would make an amazing big brother. A legacy of love. Years later, as Maya and Paul watched their children play together under the golden hues of a setting sun, they reflected on how far they had come. Their journey had not been easy, but it had been filled with moments of growth, love, and transformation. The foundation had grown into a thriving organization, with chapters in multiple cities and countless lives touched by its mission. Maya's speeches continued to inspire, while Paul's community initiatives created lasting change. Together, they had built not just a family, but a legacy of compassion and resilience. "Maya," Paul said softly, taking her hand as they sat on their porch, "I'm so proud of everything we've built. Our family, our foundation. It's more than I ever dreamed." Maya smiled, her eyes shimmering with gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without you, Paul. You've been my rock, my partner, my everything." As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, their children's laughter filled the air. In that moment, Maya and Paul knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, with love as their guide and hope as their enduring legacy. Bridging generations and building a legacy. As the years passed, Maya and Paul's lives continued to evolve. Their children, Luca and his younger sister Emilia, now blossoming into curious and empathetic young souls, became deeply embedded in the work their parents had started. The family was no longer just a household. They had become a symbol of unity and resilience, inspiring people from all walks of life. But with this growing legacy came a desire to ensure their work extended beyond their lifetime. The new generation's curiosity. Luca, now 10, and Emilia, 6, often tagged along to their parents' events. While they were still young, they had a keen understanding of the values their family stood for: kindness, courage, and acceptance. One summer afternoon, as the family prepared for a local fundraiser organized by the Hope Beyond Appearances Foundation, Luca approached Maya with a notebook in hand. "Mom," he began, his voice curious yet serious, "why do people say you're different?" Maya knelt down, meeting his eyes. "Because I look different, Luca," she explained gently. "Some people don't understand that even though I'm small, I'm just like everyone else on the inside." Luca frowned, deep in thought. "But that doesn't make sense. You're the smartest, kindest person I know." Maya smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "Thank you, Luca. That means the world to me. But sometimes people need time to learn and see past what they don't understand. That's why we share our story, to help them learn." Emilia, overhearing the conversation, chimed in with her childlike wisdom. "Maybe they just need more hugs," she suggested, earning a laugh from Maya and Paul. Expanding the foundation's reach. As their children grew, so did the foundation. Maya and Paul decided it was time to take their mission global, establishing partnerships with organizations in other countries. The work was challenging but rewarding, with every new connection bringing fresh opportunities to support those who felt unseen or misunderstood. Maya, now a seasoned speaker and advocate, found herself addressing international audiences. At a summit in Geneva, she stood before a diverse crowd of leaders, activists, and medical professionals, her petite frame commanding attention through the power of her words. "Our differences are not weaknesses," Maya declared, her voice resonating throughout the hall. "They are what make us unique, and when we embrace them, we create a world where everyone belongs." Her speech was met with a standing ovation. But for Maya, the real triumph came afterward, when people approached her to share how her story had touched their lives. A mother from India spoke of her son, who had been born with a rare genetic condition and often felt isolated. A teacher from Brazil explained how Maya's message had inspired her to create an inclusive classroom environment. Each story reaffirmed the importance of their work. Challenges resurface. Despite their growing success, the family was not immune to challenges. As they gained more visibility, they also attracted criticism from individuals who doubted their intentions or misunderstood their mission. Online forums and social media occasionally became battlegrounds of debate, with some accusing the family of using their story for attention. One evening, as Maya scrolled through the comments on a foundation video, she came across a particularly harsh thread questioning her authenticity. The words stung, reopening old wounds. Paul found her sitting on the couch, her laptop on her lap and tears in her eyes. "Maya," he said softly, sitting beside her. "What's wrong?" She gestured to the screen. "Why do some people still refuse to believe us, even after all we've done? Sometimes it feels like no matter how hard we try, it's never enough." Paul wrapped an arm around her, his voice steady. "Because there will always be people who choose to see what they want to see. But for every person who doubts, there are countless others whose lives you've changed. Focus on them. They're the reason we started this." Maya nodded, his words grounding her. "You're right. I won't let this stop us. A family united." The family's unity became their greatest strength. Luca and Emilia, now more aware of the work their parents did, began to find ways to contribute. Luca took an interest in public speaking, often helping Maya rehearse her speeches and even delivering a few of his own at school events. Emilia, with her boundless energy and creativity, started designing posters and crafts for the foundation's fundraisers. One evening, as the family gathered around the dinner table, Luca made an announcement. "I want to help the foundation more," he said confidently. "Maybe I can organize a fundraiser at school." Paul smiled proudly. "That's a great idea, Luca. What do you have in mind?" "I was thinking of a talent show," Luca said, his eyes lighting up. "Everyone can show what makes them unique, and we can raise money to help kids who feel left out." Maya's heart swelled with pride. "That's a beautiful idea, Luca. Let's work on it together." The talent show. The talent show, aptly named Shining Stars, became a cornerstone event for the foundation. Held at Luca's school, it drew participants from across the town, each showcasing their unique abilities, from singing and dancing to magic tricks and storytelling. The event not only raised funds but also fostered a sense of community and belonging. As Maya watched from the front row, tears filled her eyes. She saw herself in many of the young performers, children who had faced judgment or doubt, but were now standing confidently in their truth. Luca's closing speech left an indelible mark on everyone present. "My mom always says that being different isn't a bad thing," he told the audience. "It's what makes us special." And tonight, I think we've proven that. A legacy secured. Years turned into decades, and Maya and Paul's family continued to grow, not just in numbers, but in influence. Luca and Amelia, now young adults, took on leadership roles within the foundation, ensuring its mission would endure. Together, they expanded the organization's reach, launching programs to support education, healthcare, and community building for underserved populations. Maya and Paul, though older, remained as committed as ever. They became mentors and advisors, guiding the next generation while cherishing the quiet moments of their life together. One evening, as they sat on their porch watching the sunset, Paul took Maya's hand. "Look at what we've built," he said, his voice filled with awe. "Not just a foundation, but a family, a legacy. I couldn't have imagined this life without you." Maya leaned her head on his shoulder, her heart full. "And I couldn't have done it without you," she replied. "We've proven that love and understanding can change the world." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden glow over their home, Maya and Paul knew that their story, rooted in love, resilience, and hope, would continue to inspire for generations to come. A legacy of love, empowerment, and global change. The years rolled on, and the story of Maya, Paul, and their family transformed from a tale of personal triumph into a beacon of hope for millions. As the Hope Beyond Appearances Foundation grew into a global movement, their influence expanded beyond anything they had imagined. What began as a mission to combat prejudice had now become a multifaceted organization addressing education, healthcare, and social empowerment on an international scale. Despite their growing success, Maya and Paul remained humble, choosing to lead by example and teaching their children, now adults, to carry forward their mission with the same compassion and integrity. The next generation takes the helm. Luca, now 25, had taken on the role of executive director at the foundation, bringing fresh ideas and youthful energy to its initiatives. Emilia, at 21, had discovered a passion for art and used her talent to create visual campaigns that told the stories of individuals impacted by the foundation's work. One crisp morning, as the family gathered for breakfast in the sunlit kitchen of their home, Luca shared an ambitious idea. "I've been thinking about launching a new program," he began, excitement evident in his voice. "It would focus on providing scholarships to students with rare medical conditions, helping them access higher education and opportunities they might otherwise miss." Paul, now sporting a touch of gray in his hair, beamed with pride. "That's a wonderful idea, Luca. Education was at the heart of how all this started. Your mother teaching me, and us building this together." Maya, her petite frame still radiating the same strength and grace that had carried her through life, smiled warmly. "It's perfect. You're carrying forward what we've always believed, that everyone deserves a chance, no matter their circumstances. Emilia chimed in, her sketchbook in hand. I can help design the campaign materials. Maybe we could highlight stories of past scholarship recipients to show the impact. Luca nodded. Exactly what I was thinking. Let's work on this together. A global summit. The Foundation's work culminated in a monumental event, the first ever Global Empathy Summit, held in Paris. Leaders, activists, and changemakers from around the world gathered to discuss solutions for fostering inclusion and understanding. Maya and Paul were invited as keynote speakers, their story serving as the cornerstone of the summit. The stage was grand, with banners bearing the Foundation's logo and the tagline, "Empathy transforms, unity prevails." As Maya approached the microphone, the room fell silent. Though her stature was small, her presence filled the vast hall. Empathy is not just a feeling, she began, her voice steady and heartfelt. It is a choice, an action, a commitment to see beyond what divides us. My family's journey began with misunderstandings and judgment, but it was love, resilience, and the courage to tell the truth that carried us forward. Today, I stand before you not as a woman defined by her condition, but as a testament to what can happen when we choose to believe in one another. Her words resonated deeply, drawing a standing ovation. As she stepped off the stage, she was greeted by Paul, who enveloped her in a warm embrace. "You've always been my hero," he whispered. Later that evening, during a gala dinner, Luca and Emilia were approached by attendees eager to collaborate. The summit was a resounding success, setting the stage for even greater global initiatives. A personal milestone. Back in Valverde, life moved at a slower pace, offering a balance to the high-energy demands of their work. Maya and Paul cherish the quiet moments, often reflecting on how far they had come. On the eve of their 30th wedding anniversary, Paul decided to surprise Maya with something extraordinary. The entire family gathered in the backyard of their home, decorated with twinkling fairy lights and blooming flowers. As the sun set, casting a golden glow, Paul stood in front of their children and closest friends, holding Maya's hand. "Maya," he began, his voice filled with emotion. 30 years ago, I met you as my teacher, but you became so much more. You've been my guide, my partner, my inspiration, and the love of my life. Together, we've built a family, a legacy, and a story that I hope will inspire generations. I can't imagine a life without you, and I wouldn't want to." Tears filled Maya's eyes as Paul revealed a small handcrafted book. Inside were letters from people around the world whose lives had been changed by their story and the Foundation's work. "I wanted you to see the ripple effect of your courage," Paul said. "This is our legacy, Maya, and it's all because of you." Maya hugged him tightly, her voice choked with emotion. This means everything. Thank you, Paul." The Foundation's future. As Maya and Paul stepped back from day-to-day operations, Luca and Emilia took the Foundation to new heights. They launched programs in rural communities, partnered with global organizations, and created digital platforms to amplify unheard voices. One particularly innovative project was a virtual reality program designed by Emilia. Called Walk in My Shoes, it allowed users to experience life through the eyes of individuals with disabilities or rare conditions, fostering empathy in a deeply personal way. The program garnered international acclaim, even being adopted by schools and workplaces as a training tool. During a family dinner, Emilia shared the impact of the program. One of the participants told me that after using it, they apologized to a colleague they'd previously ignored because of their disability. That's the power of what we're doing. Maya beamed with pride. "You're changing the world, one heart at a time." A farewell with gratitude. In their later years, Maya and Paul found solace in the quiet beauty of Valverde, surrounded by their children, grandchildren, and the love of a grateful community. Their story had become legend, not just in their town but across the globe, a reminder of the transformative power of love, empathy, and resilience. One peaceful afternoon, as they sat side by side on their porch, Watching their grandchildren play, Paul turned to Maya. "Do you ever think about how it all started?" he asked. Maya nodded, a soft smile gracing her lips. "All the time. It's hard to believe how far we've come. But what I'm most grateful for is that we did it together." Paul squeezed her hand. "I wouldn't have had it any other way." As the sun set on their lives, it was clear that Maya and Paul's legacy would endure, not just in the foundation they had built, but in the hearts of everyone they had touched. Their journey, marked by trials and triumphs, had shown the world that love truly has the power to conquer all. A legacy of love and lessons learned. Maya and Paul lived out the rest of their days in peace, surrounded by their growing family and the enduring impact of their work. Their home in Valverde, now lovingly referred to by locals as the House of Hope, became a symbol of resilience and unity. Visitors from around the world would stop by to pay their respects, leaving behind letters, tokens of gratitude, and stories of how their lives had been changed by Maya and Paul's unwavering commitment to empathy and understanding. Reflections on life. In their twilight years, Maya and Paul often found themselves reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this place. One crisp autumn evening, they sat on their porch, the golden light of the setting sun casting a warm glow over their weathered faces. Their grandchildren played in the garden, their laughter filling the air with a joy that was contagious. Maya turned to Paul, her hand resting on his. "Do you think we did enough?" she asked softly, her eyes searching his. Paul smiled, his gaze filled with affection. "Maya, look around you. We've built a family that knows the value of love and kindness. We've inspired a movement that continues to change lives. And we've shown the world that differences are not barriers but bridges. I'd say we've done more than enough." Maya nodded, her heart full. "I just hope people continue to learn from our story, to see that no matter how hard life gets, there's always a way forward when you have love and understanding." A lesson for all. The lesson of Maya and Paul's life was simple yet profound. Love is the most transformative force in the world. It can shatter prejudices, heal wounds, and create bonds that transcend all barriers. Their story taught that appearances can be deceiving, but the truth of a person lies in their heart, their actions, and their capacity for empathy. Through their foundation, speeches, and the lives they touched, Maya and Paul reminded the world that empathy builds bridges. Taking the time to understand others can create connections that change lives. Resilience leads to growth. Life's challenges can be overcome with perseverance and support. Love is limitless. True love knows no boundaries, whether physical, emotional, or societal. A new beginning. When Maya passed peacefully in her sleep at the age of 87, the world mourned the loss of a remarkable woman. Paul, who followed just months later, was buried beside her in a ceremony attended by family, friends, and admirers from all over the globe. Together, they had left a legacy that would continue to inspire for generations. Their children, Luca and Emilia, carried forward the Foundation's mission with the same passion and dedication as their parents. Under their leadership, the Hope Beyond Appearances Foundation expanded into new territories, addressing emerging challenges and continuing to amplify the voices of the unheard. The enduring legacy. Decades later, a statue was erected in the town square of Valverde, depicting Maya and Paul standing hand in hand, looking toward the horizon. At its base, an inscription read, "In honor of Maya and Paul, who taught the world that love conquers all, and that understanding is the key to unity." Their story lives on in the hearts of all who believe in the power of empathy and resilience. The statue became a pilgrimage site for those seeking inspiration, a testament to what could be achieved when people chose love over judgment and understanding over fear. A final thought. Maya and Paul's story was more than just a tale of overcoming adversity. It was a reminder to all of us that we hold the power to change the world through small acts of kindness and courage. Their lives showed that no matter where we come from or what challenges we face, love can guide us toward a brighter, more compassionate future. And so, their legacy continued. a spark of hope in a sometimes divided world, illuminating the path for all who dared to believe in the transformative power of love. This concludes the story. Thank you for watching until the end. I hope you found it enjoyable. If you did, please consider liking the video and sharing it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell for more captivating stories. Have a great day.